Hello everyone. Welcome back to the Early Bird Chirrup webcast. I'm absolutely delighted that today we've got another leader in this space. Leona McDonald is joining us from, as you may see on the screen, Golden Hooves, but we'll be getting into what Golden Hooves is. I won't do any more now than say it's a really innovative and entrepreneurial approach to the market taken by a company called First Milk, which those of you watching may be familiar with, but if not, check them out. This is one of an ongoing set of discussions that we are having with people who have got ahead of the curve on regenerative agriculture and particularly on the place of biodiversity management in agriculture. And I think Leona's perspective is particularly interesting because it's directly facing the consumer. And often we have discussions with people who are back up the top of the supply chain in the field who are doing regenerative agriculture because it's the best way to manage their natural assets. I think Leona brings the perspective of the person who's buying the end product, who may also have a view on regen, biodiversity, and the issues associated. So anyway, I'm very, very happy to introduce Leona. Hello. Do you want to tell everybody about who you are, where you come from, and why we're here today, Leona?
Thank you, Conrad. Yes, well, a great introduction. I'm Leona McDonald, and I work for First Milk, which is a dairy cooperative, so fully farmer-owned and farmer-run. We've got just over 700 farms, all the way down from deepest Dorset to the very, very north of Scotland. And the majority of our farms, yes, they, as you mentioned, they run, the vast majority, 96%, run under our regenerative agriculture scheme. So yeah, very happy to talk about that today.
Great. So, as I said in the preamble, this is really about Golden Hooves, and I think a little bit of a sort of step back. UK may be similar to many other countries in that there has been a history of large groups of dairy producers that have been feeding in rather anonymously into a milk pool, national milk pool, back, decades ago. And that has changed over the years. That's become more focused on product, on brand, and also the focus on just production, the simple issue of getting some litres out of a farm has got a little bit more sophisticated, we're pleased to say. And in many cases, dairy groups are thinking about how that productivity happens, what needs to be balanced against maximising output. And that's kind of what regenerative is about. So do you want to tell us a little bit about the regenerative farming program and the farmer incentive that gets the folks who produce the milk onto the same page as you marketing the milk and marketing the product?
Sure. Yeah, we've been working with our farmers on this program for about 6 years, actually. So whilst certainly the term regenerative in the customer and consumer sphere is fairly new, for our farmers, it really isn't. It's something they've been living and breathing for the last 6 years, and we've increased that program over that time as well. We started off with what we called our First for Milk pledge that we asked our farmers to sign, and that was really a sort of top line commitment to animal welfare, biodiversity, land management. And as I said, that's increased over that period of time to the point now, as I've just said, we've got 96% of our farmers that are farming this way. We process 2.2 million litres of milk a day at First Milk. It's a considerable amount, but it's only 7% of the UK's milk intake. So, whilst it sounds pretty impressive, we've got 85,000 hectares and, all of this wonderful stuff happening, we're just minnows. So really, we're trying to get out that we can do this at scale. You can do this at one farm, you can do it with 700 farms. And we want everybody doing this because, as you say, we're involved in joint haulage and milk swaps across the country, which is the right thing to do. It's efficient and it keeps the carbon footprint down. But how do we make sure that more farmers are farming the way that they can do? So the way that we work it with our members is they've signed the pledge, as I said, that's increased over time, and we've added water courses into that, and animals exhibiting natural behaviour, and various other kind of metrics that we've put through. Every single one of our farms is mapped via an app, and every single one of our fields is mapped via an app, and we audit and track that with our farmers to make sure that they are spreading out across the land. It might be very well that they might do some regenerative interventions in one field. That would be wonderful, but we want to make sure that that's spread out across the land and it's having the maximum benefit. So we track it that way. We have a team of regenerative experts within our business. We also encourage very much peer-to-peer learning. Farmers really learn quicker and faster from other farmers, and we actually have what we call a pioneer farm program as well, where we have a group of farmers who will go stick their neck out. We support them, of course, but try new things and then share that out through the rest of the business. Everything is tracked, everything is measured. Our recent impact report will give you that information if you want to have a good read through, because it's pretty inspiring and motivating, certainly for us that work in this industry. And I've really encouraged to see how that's moved on. 2 years ago, when I looked at the data, we had 5,000 kilometres of hedgerows. You could stretch that from one end of Australia to the other. It's pretty incredible when you think about the biodiversity and carbon capture within that. That's increased by 10% in 2 years. We're now at 5,500. So, and our boundary fields have increased from 170,000 to 250,000. We're increasing habitats all of the time, and these are the interventions that we measure. I've mentioned protecting water, but we're also working on a really pioneering program with Princess Gate Water on compaction as well, to help negate things like flooding and drought. So there's all kinds of different interventions. And in total this year, 326,000 individual interventions across 85,000 hectares will have been carried out by our 700 farmers. And it's that we track. The more interventions you do, the greater benefit that they bring, the better score you get. The better score you get, the better milk price.
Do you have the patience with us to talk us through the score in a bit more detail? So thinking, with the mindset of a farmer who is very much focused on the input, output, the amount of effort that it takes versus the reward. Can you talk us through the score in that sense?
Yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it? Farming is, and farmers learn generationally. So I would say one of the biggest challenges that we had was moving away from more recently traditional ways of farming, I should say, post-war ways of farming, and into this kind of new era of stepping back in time. So that's been, I would say, probably the hardest challenge, to help farmers realise that this is the way forward. And actually, by doing it this way, not only are they going to get a better milk price, but their inputs are less, their yields can potentially be greater, and the impact that they're having to the land around them. Most farmers, all farmers pretty much that I've met anyway, they love their animals, they love their land. It's really important to them, very emotionally attached. So for them to be able to monitor and score and see, well, actually, I am improving my land, I'm improving my animal welfare, whether that's in different metrics that we might use with regards to weight or lameness or antibiotic interventions, or however the farmers decide to do that. Actually, it's a really tangible way as well, just to see that what they're doing is making it better. And also they're quite competitive. So we do like to have, we have regional champions, and we have, national champions as well. And we share that, at member meetings and AGMs, and they get a certificate, and nobody likes to be beaten by the farm down the road. So that also helps.
So that's interesting that on the one hand, there's a sort of competitive element, but you're also hoping that there will be sharing of good practice amongst farms. Yeah,
there really is. There really is. The community that we've created is quite incredible, and that peer-to-peer learning it's so valuable. We have a huge amount of expertise in our business.
Yeah, excellent. So the investment takes the form of a premium per litre of milk. That's how it works?
Yep.
And the premium varies according to how many sort of points they get on their score. Is that the case?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
and
sliding scale. Yeah. So
yeah, yeah,
yeah, it's a pretty easy metric, to be honest. Everybody can kind of work it out. What we
yeah.
also have within the group, so that's sort of the main first milk metric, and then what we also have within the group are select supplier groups as well, where we work with other businesses who really want to push forward the regenerative agenda quicker and faster even than we do. And that's really exciting. So there we work with Yo
Mm.
Valley and Nestle and Princess Gate, I've just mentioned the water, and they will put their
Hmm.
arms around a group of our farmers. So not only are they encouraged by us, but they're also being really encouraged by our partners as well. So it's a real sort of community of well-intended food producers.
Hmm. Hmm. So the Golden Hooves component of this is taking it from, a technical discussion of how to improve on farm to something that we expect consumers to respond to. How does that story work with consumers?
With consumers, yeah, it's really exciting, isn't it? Because we have a view of the entire supply chain, which is quite unusual for most food industries, and we also have control of the entire supply chain as well. So every single product that comes from Golden Hooves will be traced back to one of our farms, one of our regen farms. It will not be involved in any of the not swaps or joint haulage that we mentioned before. So it's really around the integrity that's there and making sure that we can prove that to the consumer. So we've got some pretty high standards, even internally, with regards to the milk that goes into Golden Hooves products. It's given us a real view of, yes, how consumers receive regenerative and regenerating. And it's also been very helpful when feeding back into the business as well for our other B2B customers. So across the First Milk Group, the majority of what we do is B2B, and helping them understand it is actually part of the challenge too. Why would you buy from First Milk? Will you buy from First Milk because not only do they make excellent quality milk and cheese and other products, but also, they've got they're very values led, and we're working towards a better dairy future. But how do we talk about regenerative in a way that's simple enough for people to understand? What is quite complex isn't bound by legislation or some kind of an accreditation. So it's given us such a lot of information in how to do that, and that means that we truly live and breathe this every day as a business.
Okay. In our travels as Chirrup, we've come across businesses that we would call regenerative who aren't describing themselves as such. We have occasionally come across businesses that do describe themselves as regenerative, and we're not so sure. So, as you say, there's no legislative constraint around what you claim for regenerative, or indeed, legislative help. It's up to you to forge that understanding and communicate it in a way that the consumer or the business that's buying it understands. How does that work in practice? Do you talk people through the sort of the specifics of carbon in the soil and which types of bird species or plant species you have on farm, or is it more general? What do people engage with?
Consumers,
Mm,
consumers very much disengage with carbon tunnel vision. So consumers
okay.
really, really don't have an emotional connection to carbon. And that's the thing when you're buying, yes, of course, you're buying on price and flavor and everything else, but you're also, buying because of how it makes you feel and how, whether you are a conscientious consumer or not, I guess. And carbon just doesn't resonate with the consumer. And we've now run our second year of consumer surveys of dairy consumers 18 plus that buy dairy products twice a month, etc., year on year, and to see where that's going. The elements of what we do that really resonate with the consumer is biodiversity and animal welfare. They are the tangible and emotional benefits that the consumers are interested in. And if you think about it, it does make sense. We are 72% of our countryside is in the custody of farmers, and it's also so important to our welfare and well-being as human beings. there's been a lot of information recently. You know, everyone was out saving bees with teaspoons of sugar a couple of years ago, weren't they? So, you know, all of those kind of negative things that have happened really lean into, well, I want to make a difference. How can I make a difference? And I can make a difference to those things that are important to me by making consumer choices. So we have to make the consumer choices really easy. We have to make sure that they hold up under scrutiny, and we also have to make sure that they taste great. You know, that's the other thing. It's getting that whole package together. It's difficult to communicate to the consumer and to get, as I said, a complicated message across in a very simple way. And we'll continue to evolve that. We've developed an augmented reality regenerative dairy farm, regeneration farm, with Emma and Steve, our farmers, and that now is on pack via a QR code, and you know, we'll be rolling that out further as well, really trying to embrace modern technology and lack of space, so that we can share the story in a fun way.
Okay, so this isn't a virtual reality farm, it's an actual farm, yeah, but augmented. Is that right?
It's augmented, yeah. And people can see the worms, or they can see the birds and understand the, you know, the benefit of that. And for us, animals outside is key, right? Grazing animals, that is key to regenerating our very much depleted soils. And ultimately, you know, regenerative agriculture, as I'm sure your listeners know probably better than I do, but you know, it's about putting back. Sustainability simply isn't enough, and we've got to do more. And we truly believe that animals are a very important part of that process. And in fact, as the impact report will clearly show that, not just on carbon sequestration, but also, you know, on compaction and runoff and biodiversity and other things as well.
Okay, well, we'll certainly put the link to the impact report in the show notes, as they say, make sure that folks can have a read. But are there any details of the consumer survey in that report, or would you like to give us a sort of a heads up on that? How many people were interviewed for it?
1,000 each year. So yeah. And it was really, really interesting. The first year we did it, we were thinking, well, everyone's banging on about carbon, it's going to be carbon, and what came back was biodiversity and animal welfare. So when asked of what's most important to them out of, you know, the various different aspects of regenerative agriculture, 77% in fact were biodiversity was the most important to them, and 60% animal welfare. And then that was followed, interestingly, by 44% understanding that regenerative agriculture is important to future food security as well. So we're starting to get there, and that is increasing year on year. So that number has increased by 10% year on year, the understanding of better future food security. That's really important. I mean, all of this it helps us form the narrative, it helps us form the storytelling, and it also helps us feed back into our members and our other suppliers. But there is, of course, a say-do gap, and our job is to take away that difference and take away that gap. So yes, I say 95% said, look, I want to see more regenerative food products where I shop. Do they do it when it's there? Why don't they? And that's what we're working on: education, price, quality, flavour, availability, education. It's actually quite complex, but the consumer survey is certainly helping us do that.
Okay, so tell us a little bit more about the products. It's not just milk. It's not even milk. I mean, it's mostly cheese, as far as I can tell. But tell me more about that. There's cheese, butter, crackers, but there is also vending machines with liquid milk. What's the relationship between all of those?
Yeah, so actually, Golden Hooves started as vending machines on farms during the pandemic. It was very much a fun thing to do, wasn't it? Let's go out and get some milkshake and milk, and you know, go and see some animals and some wildlife and get some fresh air. So we've actually got 7 sites now across the country that are doing different, either produce or milk vending. They're on member farms, and some of them offer, you know, come and view the milking, for example, see the calves, you know, really bringing that community together. And I believe it's such an important part of the Golden Hooves story. Farmers are about, yes, biodiversity and landscape and welfare, but they're also about community, aren't they? People really want to understand what's going on, and kids just love the animals. I mean, who doesn't love to go and see a calf? So a lot of them do that. It's exceptional quality. Taste of the West Award for one of our vending farms just recently. So And that for us is, yeah, it kind of links, doesn't it? It makes sure that our story remains with the farmers, because that's really what it's about.
Yeah. And I believe that the cheese have won other awards. Am I right?
Yes. Should be dripping in gold, Conrad. That's it. Yeah. Well, we launched our first cheese in April 23. We now have 5 cheeses, 3 crackers, and a butter. And we have since won 52 quality and taste awards in that time. That includes 2 Supreme Champions at the International Cheese and Dairy Awards, which is very rare, not only for block cheddar, but to get it twice. Golds in, the British Cheese Awards, International Cheese Awards. Yeah, gosh, I could go on and list all 52, but that'd be very boring.
I've got to ask you a question, Leona. Were these blind tastings?
Yes.
There you go. You can taste the regenerative difference. Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. I
Wow.
think so. I mean, cows fed on grass that are allowed to exhibit natural behaviours, yes, I believe so.
That is, as I say, revolutionary. Right. Do you want to talk a little bit about that sort of branding? My colleague Catherine is very, very acutely aware of those that we collaborate with, how they brand, and making sure that what we're saying is, in sync with what you're all saying. I noticed that is an anarchy symbol upside down on your wall.
But also kind of looks like a cow, right?
And it does look like a cow. But for most people, it'll be a cow first. But yeah, for those of us with a misspent youth, that looks like something painted on a wall. So what's the thinking around the revolutionary branding?
Because we need, if we are going to make a difference, if we're going to bring people with us, we need to create a community and create a tribe. And as I said, when we do the surveys and when we talk to people, there's such a will, such a want to do better, but people often just don't know how. And we want to make this fun, inclusive, kind of cheeky, but certainly brave. We've got a cause, we've got a reason to be, and we want to bring people with us on that journey. When we came up with the logo, as you said, upside down anarchy symbol that looks slightly like a cow, it was just so simple but really fun. And so the idea of join us on this revolution is about, again, tapping into people's emotions. How can I do better? How can I help this? But we also want to be a brand that people are really proud of. I want people putting it at the top of their shopping baskets. I'm a Golden Hooves type consumer. That's who I am. It's not just any cheese. It's Golden Hooves cheese on the cheese board or whatever that might be, because that should represent who you are. And so, yeah, creating a community, creating a herd, as we like to call it, of people that truly enjoy delicious food produced in the right way, that supports the farming community, supports wildlife, and represents a little bit about their values. We have a very values-led kind of situation at the minute, certainly in recruitment. When we're recruiting people, we will often get people come to us because they understand our values and they want to be a part of that. So why not make it for consumers too?
Well, I think we should also give a shout out to your colleague Lily, who first drew my attention to the product when I went down to a farm in the West Country. Another little segue now. You mentioned crackers. Now and you mentioned maize. I don't suppose the maize supplies the crackers, but you've got a non-dairy component in Golden Hooves. Is there a story behind that? And are you drawing any lessons from what's going on with our friends at Wildfarmed?
Yeah, of course. We work really well with Wildfarmed. We actually launched the crackers before they launched their first flour. So at the minute, we're using Matthews, who have a fantastic regenerative arable program. And it uses our butter. So we have the Golden Hooves butter. So there is a link. And we want to, deliciously regenerative is our strap line. So everything that we do has to be fully regenerative by its very source, and it's got to taste amazing. It's handmade in small batches in Wales, using the best quality ingredients. And from a consumer perspective, it's quite, it's just nice, isn't it? Cheese butter crackers. It works. The butter just won another award, just a Supreme Champion. So that's great. So yeah, it works well. And Wildfarmed I have to, I say to the, our CEO and Chief Impact Officer, if you could just be a world famous DJ and a TV presenter, my life would be so much easier. Um, they're even more wonderful, I have to say. I'm very lucky to work with Sheila and Mark, but yeah, they don't have that kind of fame. So we will take it. What they're doing is wonderful.
Yeah.
Learning about how we need to reintroduce arable and animal husbandry together, those rotations, how that works. Wildfarmed on their website of good farming, they've got that real sort of stark, haven't they? Good farming, bad farming graphic. The good farming involves animals, and we truly believe that comes together. And actually, our teams are working together on a few projects at the moment. It's very exciting.
Ah, excellent. Can you give us a sneak preview of what that might be?
No, I can't.
No, shame. Please come back to
Watch
us
this
when there's
space.
something to talk about.
Yeah, we can maybe come back and do that. But yeah,
Really
lots of
good.
people. Again, we talk about consumers and creating a tribe, but it's also about producers as well, coming together and sharing stories and information and learnings, and collaborating in ways that we can to drive the agenda forward as fast as possible.
So, looking ahead over the next year, say, or if there's even bigger things slightly further on, what are the big milestones that you're heading towards with Golden Hooves and more generally with the way First Milk does what it does?
Well, so we're just embarking on a very pioneer program, with Prince's Gate Water, which is on a sort of mass balanced water scheme in West Wales. There's been a lot of negative press around the Oscar Wye Valley and chicken farming, and whilst we're not involved in that, it's very obvious, isn't it, that farming is quite nutrient dense, and if we don't manage the land well, then there are issues. So we've lent into that, and we're really excited about that. If people want to find it, there's videos on YouTube about what we're doing and how we're measuring the compaction in the land and how that works. So that's very, very exciting. We'll continue. We will get evidence of our carbon capture. We hoped to sequester 100,000 tonnes of CO2 equivalent by the end of this year. All the modelling shows that it should be double that, 203,000 tonnes. So we're very excited to get that in as well. And then specifically for Golden Hooves, and also for BV Dairy, which is a specialist dairy site that we have bought down in Shaftesbury. They produce yogurt, soft cheeses, that kind of product into the food service industry. We're going to be just focusing again on finding the right kind of customers that want to align with our regenerative credentials and move that forward. And of course, some product launches too.
Okay. Any hints?
Wimbledon might be a hint.
Oh, okay. All right. I've got a picture for me. Very, very interesting. Very interesting indeed.
Lots of fun, and lots of fun stuff. Lots of fun stuff planned. Lots of events, and yeah, more anarchy, more revolutionary stuff.
Excellent, excellent. Well, it's like the folks at Wildfarmed say, it can't be a drag. It's got to be a party. So yeah, so really, really good news to hear that you guys leading on it. Any other thoughts before you go? I mean, we try to draw our inspiration from wherever it's available, whether it be people on the front line facing the consumer, or actually with their feet on the ground in the soil, dealing with, the transition from unsustainable to regenerative. Any other sort of big brands or activity out there that you draw inspiration from personally?
I'm a big fan of Tony's Chocolonely. Not just because it's gorgeous, but they've got a real purpose. Cheese is a commodity market, chocolate's a commodity market. They took the chocolate market, they created amazing packaging, a delicious product, and they've got a real purpose, and they are steadfast in that. And I draw parallels of Golden Hooves with that, for certain. I really enjoy what they've done and how they talk about it. Wildfarmed we've mentioned, of course. They're just having a great time, and is setting the world on fire. And probably a little bit left field, I was thinking about this, would be, there's a toilet paper brand called Who Gives a Crap, who have a they have a subscription method. They market it very locally. Again, I think what I'm talking about here are three very commodity-based items where people have set their purpose out very clear and have gone about it in a slightly different way to win consumers over and to gain traction and value. And I find that really inspiring.
Excellent. Well, we will watch the space. Market domination within a decade, yeah?
Yeah. Or less.
Or less.
We'll go for it. We'll go for it.
Thanks for encouraging us to join the regenerative revolution. Delightful to speak to you. I hope we will see you at our event in January. Thank you so much, Leona. Thank you, First Milk and Golden Hooves, and we will be speaking soon.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for listening, everyone. Cheers.